You ever sit in a room full of people and suddenly feel like you're the only one who doesn't know the punchline? That was me, standing in heels that hurt like hell, smiling at a slideshow of my husband's life, and pretending everything wasn't about to unravel in front of 100 people and a chocolate fountain. Richard's retirement party was supposed to be a celebration. 40 years of corporate climbing, 3 kids, 38 years of marriage, and one perfectly chilled glass of champagne shaking in my hand. The event planner had gone all out. White roses, candlelit tables, a slideshow that looped pictures of board meetings, family ski trips, and blurry Christmas mornings. People kept coming up to me saying things like, "You two are such an inspiration. You must be so proud, Helen." I smiled. I nodded. I thought about the last 10 years, and I prayed no one noticed my knuckles tightening around the stem of that glass. Then she stood up. Lisa Durant, former assistant, former colleague, and apparently not so former anything else, wearing a sleek navy dress that said classy, but eyes that screamed, claiming what's mine. She walked to the mic like it was her wedding toast. "I just want to say a few words," she said, voice shaking like she was holding back tears. "Working with Richard has been one of the great privileges of my life." Okay, fine. Corporate flattery. I could survive that. Then she added, "And loving him, quietly, patiently, for all these years, taught me that real connection doesn't always come with permission." I blinked. What? The clinking of silverware stopped. My daughter froze mid-bite. Richard was statue still beside me. My breath caught. I turned to him slowly, like I was afraid of what I'd see. He didn't look confused. He didn't look angry. He looked exhausted, like a man who knew the truth had finally come to collect. Lisa kept going. She talked about Paris, about late-night phone calls, about a love that grew despite the boundaries. Someone gasped. Someone dropped a fork. And I laughed. One short, dry laugh that I couldn't swallow back in time. People turned. I stepped outside. Out on the balcony, the air was cold. My hands were shaking. Not from shock, from relief, because I didn't have to pretend anymore. I'd known. Not the full details. Not Lisa's name. But I'd known something was off for years. The late-night strategy calls. The overnights in Chicago. The smell of cologne I didn't buy. I had buried it. For the kids. For appearances. For the house. The holidays. The lies I told myself in the mirror. But now it was out. He didn't confess. She did. And in some twisted way, I was grateful. Because tonight wasn't the collapse. It was the escape. When I came back inside, he was waiting. "Can we talk?" he asked quietly. "No," I said. "You had decades. She just used 5 minutes better than you ever did." And I walked past him. I didn't cause a scene. Didn't yell. Didn't flip the table or throw my ring. I just walked, because sometimes silence makes the loudest exit. The house felt different when we got home. Same furniture, same photos on the wall. But the air had changed. Heavier, like it knew what we weren't saying. Richard walked in first, loosened his tie like he was about to settle in for the evening. I stayed by the door. "Are you going to say anything?" I asked. He turned slowly, hands in his pockets. I didn't know she was going to do that. I let out a laugh, low and bitter. "You didn't know your mistress was about to out you during your retirement speech? That's your defense?" His eyes dropped to the floor. "It wasn't supposed to be like that." "Oh, right. It never is." He sat down on the edge of the couch, the same couch where we watched our kids grow up, where we unwrapped Christmas gifts, where I cried after my mother died. I stayed standing. "I need to know," I said. "How long has it been going on?" He didn't answer at first. "Don't lie to me, Richard. Not now. You owe me the truth." He ran a hand through his thinning hair. 17 years. The number hit me like a punch to the chest. 17. Our youngest hadn't even started kindergarten. "And you never thought to tell me?" I asked. My voice calm. Too calm. "I kept thinking it would end," he said. Then I kept hoping it would. But the longer it went on, the harder it was to walk away. I nodded. That's the thing about lies, I said. They get comfortable, like old furniture. Ugly, worn down, but you convince yourself you need them to sit down. He looked like he might cry. I didn't care. For once, I wanted him to sit in his shame. You looked me in the eyes every day, I said. You kissed me, raised our children with me, built a life, while carrying on another life in secret. He reached out. Helen, I'm sorry. I stepped back. Don't touch me. And that was when I felt it. Not rage, not heartbreak. Clarity. I'm not mad about the affair, I said. I'm mad that you wasted my time. That night, I slept in the guest room. Not because I couldn't sleep beside him, because I didn't want to. Because I deserved better pillows. And better everything, really. In the dark, I stared at the ceiling and thought about all the things I ignored. How he started humming again when he got back from business trips. How he always seemed distant after birthdays and anniversaries. How I always felt just a little too alone in a house that was supposed to feel full. I didn't cry. You don't cry when a storm hits. You brace. You hold still. You wait for the next strike. The next morning, he made coffee. 2 mugs. Like we were still a team. I poured mine down the sink. I'm going to stay at the lake house for a while, he said. I didn't answer. He looked at me one last time, like he was hoping for a hint of forgiveness, some sign that I'd fold, like always, but I didn't. Don't call me, I said. I need space to figure out who I am without you. And as the door clicked shut behind him, I didn't feel empty. I felt room. Room for air. Room for truth. Room for a life that wasn't held together by secrets and Sunday brunch. You know that stillness after a storm? Not peace exactly. More like emotional debris just waiting to be sorted. That's where I was. The kids had gone back to their lives. Friends sent polite check-ins wrapped in awkward silences. And me? I spent the next week organizing the kitchen drawer I always avoided, and drinking tea I didn't even like. Anything to avoid the quiet that suddenly felt so loud, until I picked up my phone and texted, "You still at the gallery?" 3 dots. Then, always, Daniel Pierce. Most people think of him as that quiet art guy. But to me, he was the man who saw the cracks I tried to hide, and never once asked me to glue them back together. We met 20 years ago. I was helping a friend redesign his gallery space. He was in the back, elbows deep in a wooden crate, swearing softly at a painting that wouldn't come loose. We got coffee once, then again. And then, we didn't stop. It never crossed a line. Not in the ways people usually mean. But he knew me. In ways Richard never bothered to. And now, sitting across from him, surrounded by oil and canvas and the smell of turpentine, I didn't have to explain anything. I saw the speech, he said gently, handing me a mug of something floral. Everyone did, I replied, trying to laugh. Failing. He tilted his head. You okay? No, I said. But I'm tired of pretending I am. I looked around his space. The place felt like him. Warm, slow, intentional. You ever think we were cowards? I asked. Daniel didn't flinch. All the time, he said. But also, patient. That made me blink. Patience is just slow fear, I said. No, he countered. Patience is hope without pressure. We didn't touch, didn't kiss. Just sat in the kind of silence you don't rush. He showed me a new series he was working on, a set of abstract portraits titled Unsaid. Each one was layered and raw, thick brush strokes and buried color. Like grief, learning how to look beautiful. They remind me of you, he said softly. I swallowed hard. When I left, he didn't ask if I'd be back. And I didn't promise that I would, but I lingered in the doorway longer than I meant to. Thank you, I said, voice barely there. For what? For never making me feel like a mistake. That night, I crawled into bed with no ring, no husband, no expectations. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was cheating anyone, including myself. I always thought it'd be easier once the truth was out. Turns out, it just gives people new questions to ask. The knock came around 10 a.m., too gentle to be Richard, too familiar to ignore. I opened the door to find Megan, our oldest, standing there with a half-empty coffee and eyes that hadn't slept. "You should have told me," she said. "Not hi. Not can I come in. Just straight to the wound." I stepped aside. She walked in without waiting, like she used to when she lived here, but this time, it felt like she was entering a crime scene, scanning for evidence. She dropped her bag by the couch and sat with her arms crossed. "I had to hear it from Aunt Marianne," she said. "She saw a clip of Lisa's speech on someone's phone. You just weren't going to say anything?" I sat across from her, hands folded, not because I was calm, because I needed to look like I was. "I was going to tell you," I said, "but I didn't know where to start." "You start with, your father had an affair for 17 years. That might have done it." Her voice cracked at the end. And suddenly, I wasn't looking at a 34-year-old woman with a mortgage and a marketing job. I was looking at the little girl who once asked me if heartbreak made your bones hurt. "I didn't want to break you," I said quietly. Megan shook her head. "You think I'm broken because I found out? Or because you never said anything?" I swallowed hard. Silence. Then she asked the question I had been dreading. "Did you know?" I looked her dead in the eye. "Yes." She flinched like I'd slapped her. "How long?" "A while." She stood up, pacing now. "So you just lived with it?" "I tried to protect you," I said. "No, Mom. You protected him. You protected the story, the family photo, the illusion." Her words sliced. "Not because they were cruel, because they were true." I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. Every holiday, every birthday, every parent-teacher conference, I was there, holding it all together. And yes, I knew. Not all the details, not the names, but I felt it. I saw it. And I chose to stay. Why? Because I didn't know who I was without him. That stopped her. And then, softer. "And now, I'm starting to find out." Megan sat back down, slowly. Her voice dropped to almost a whisper. "Was there someone else? For you?" I didn't answer right away. She looked at me. Really looked. "You don't have to lie," she said. I nodded once. "His name is Daniel." She didn't cry, didn't yell. She just exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for years. After a long pause, she asked, "Do you love him?" "I don't know yet," I said. "But he makes me feel like I could love myself again. And that's a start." Megan nodded. And in that moment, the fight left both of us. She came into the kitchen while I made tea, leaning against the counter like she used to when she was cramming for finals. "You're stronger than I gave you credit for," she said. "No," I smiled. "I'm just finally using the strength I saved for everyone else." It had been 32 days since the party. Not that I was counting, but my tea stash was down by half, and the guest room sheets had been washed 4 times. Both good barometers for healing, in case you're wondering. I'd fallen into a rhythm. Mornings at the market, afternoons walking, evenings sometimes spent with Daniel, sometimes just with a book, and silence that didn't hurt anymore. Then Richard called. "Can we talk?" I almost didn't answer. But curiosity is a tricky thing. It whispers, "What if you need to hear it to finally let go?" He arrived the next day. Same driveway, same jacket, but the man who stepped out of the car looked smaller. Not physically, just reduced somehow, like the truth had worn him down. I let him in without a word. We sat across from each other in the living room, the battlefield where we once raised our kids and shared popcorn and fell asleep to late-night movies. He looked around like it was a museum of a life he no longer had access to. "I'm not here to ask for anything," he started. "Good," I said. "But I wanted to say what I should have said before." I waited. "I was a coward," he said. "I built a life with you and escaped into another when things got too real." I said nothing. I thought I could have both. The respect, the family, the comfort, and still chase whatever it was I thought I was missing. I nodded slowly. And did you find it? With her? He paused. Number I found a distraction. That's not the same as love. The room went quiet again. I didn't know how much of me depended on you until I saw you leave, he said. You didn't see me leave, Richard. I didn't storm out. I didn't scream. I just stopped showing up for the lie. He looked down. And then, this was the part I didn't expect. He cried, not the performative kind. The kind where you wipe your face with your sleeves because you're too ashamed to ask for tissue. I don't want to fix anything, he said, voice rough. I just need you to know I see it now. All of it. What I broke, what you held together, and what I never deserved. I didn't rush to fill the space. Let him sit in that wreckage. Then I said, thank you. That's more honesty than I ever got when it counted. He stood slowly, eyes red. I'll go. At the door, he turned. If you ever… Don't, I interrupted, gentle but firm. Let this be the goodbye we didn't get before. He nodded. And just like that, the man I once loved left for good. I sat on the porch that night, legs tucked beneath me, watching the stars. Daniel joined me without a word, handing me a cup of chamomile and resting his hand over mine. I don't need an ending, I whispered. I just needed to stop living in a story that wasn't mine. He smiled. So, what now? I looked out into the night, feeling something that might have been peace. Now, I said, I write a new one. So viewers, I don't even know where to land on this one. On the surface, yeah. Richard's the one who cheated. 17 years is a lifetime of lies, and Helen finally walking away feels like the only sane choice. But then you've got Daniel, not exactly an affair, but not nothing either, waiting quietly in the background all those years. Some people will say that's emotional cheating, others will call it survival. So what do you think? Was Helen wrong for keeping Daniel in her life while staying married? Or was she just holding on to the one place she felt seen? And if you were Richard, would you have even bothered coming back to apologize after all that time? Drop your thoughts below. I have a feeling this one's going to get some strong reactions. Until next time.